In this video, we're going to talk to Brad Little, who's an account executive at a global IT services company. And he was someone who went from being already a top performer to playing at a truly elite level. Brad spent the first 8 years of his career actually in technical roles like app dev before jumping into sales, where he's since closed multiple large enterprises, including 8 or 9 Fortune 100 companies. Now, he was already doing very well, but he knew there was another gear. Now, you're going to hear how focusing on small things like time management, deal discipline, and attention to detail helped him increase his commission by 25% in his first year and put him on track for closer to 40% growth this year. Now, if you're already good at what you do, but want to see what it takes to separate yourself from the pack, this interview is going to be very relevant. For the folks that are watching or listening, tell people a little about who you are, a little bit of like your journey, and what makes Brad Little so badass.
Yeah. So I'm Brad Little. I'm an account executive for a global IT services company. Something about me is the first 8 years of my career I actually spent in technical roles in application development. And after many years of that, I realized that this is not who I am, and so I worked through a lot of different challenges, trying to figure out what I needed out of a job. And what I needed out of a job is looking back now, is I needed people and I needed competition. And I have both of those in sales. So about 8 years ago, I moved into cybersecurity sales. And then a few years ago, my company was acquired because I spent really about 8 years solely in cybersecurity. My company was acquired a couple of years back, and now we have 7 IT practices, and they want the account executive selling all the practices. So I went from cybersecurity to cybersecurity, software development, infrastructure, cloud, AI, data. So what I do now is, I work with a lot of companies where vendor consolidation means something to them. It's very different than just cyber, but it's moving to sales. It's been the best move of my career. It fits who I am, and I have the people interaction, and I also have the competition.
And what about your deal cycles? Like, are these big deals, small deals, average deal size? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, so the type of seller when I first started was, and I am this to this day through and through. I have always been a hunter. I have always enjoyed the challenge of hunting and playing that cat and mouse game, and that's always been fun for me. But what I did in the process of the hunt is I brought on a lot of very large enterprises. I brought on eight, nine, Fortune 100 companies, and so I have found myself always being true to myself with the hunting mentality. But I've also learned that farming in the large enterprise is also a huge part of sales. So I have actually spent a lot of my time over the last few years really, really learning how to expand in these large enterprises, especially when my company has 7 different IT practices.
I mean, so now are you full cycle where you're doing hunting and expansion and farming, or is it equal? What's that breakdown look like today?
I definitely still do both. I still do my prospecting. I mean, where I spend a lot of my time these days, and that's really from this program, is I spend a lot of time in the Fortune 50, the Fortune 100, these large enterprises, because I already have the relationships, I already have credibility because we've delivered really, really strong engagements. And so where I've spent a lot of my time over the last few years is in that large enterprise space. And that was one of the reasons I came over here to this program, is because my mind tells me go hunt, but I also leave a lot of business on the table for large enterprises. And this program has helped me improve tremendously in that arena.
Got it. And I mean, you obviously had a bunch of success. How long have we been working together? How long have you been in the program?
I've been in the program between a year and a half.
Yeah.
That I started, and it's been a wonderful move for me.
Yeah. When we first started working together, as someone who was already achieving, doing pretty well, what was it for you, like that moment that you're like, hey, I need to get some help, right? Was it like a big light bulb moment, or was it death by a thousand cuts? Like, what was it for you that made you say, like, hey, I should really look for someone to help me here?
Yeah, yeah. So I knew, early on in my career, I knew I had a lot of potential. I knew the sky was very high, but I knew that I wasn't there. And then as the years progressed, I got closer and closer. And I knew that I was on the cusp of becoming an elite seller, but I also knew there were things that I was missing. And so that's really the reason why, I responded and went down the journey of learning more about, Sales Accelerator. And it's been a wonderful move for me because the areas that I really needed the most help that I was really unaware of they're not really the client facing sales areas. If you put me in front of anyone, I am very confident that I can sell to them. I can build a strong relationship built on trust. The areas that I really needed the most help, time management. There were a lot of days where I would come into the office and say, what to do. And I've learned that if I do that on any given day, I've already failed for that day. And so Triple J, he's the best in the world at time management and attention to detail. And really, what I learned is, the time management and attention to detail, they may seem small, but those are the items that I needed to work out to take me from a really, really good seller to a really elite seller.
Well, it's the system that supports anything, right? Because if you don't run your day is running you, as I love to say. And you're definitely someone that, from when we started working together, there was a lot of skills already established, because when people join SRA, there's people that might only be a couple years into their career and we're still working on building the foundation. And then we have people that are selling into the Fortune 100 and they already have a really strong foundation in place. And when it comes to, their sales jobs, and what I find super interesting, and I found this especially with yourself, is when people are already doing well in their career and they've worked their ass off to get to where they are, make good money by most people's goals and aspirations, especially when they get attack. The difference between them going from really good to elite, it's usually like an inch off. Like they're so close, and they're just missing a little bit of systems and tweaks here and there, right? And what I love about one of the things that we do with every client that we work with, but with yourself, definitely seemed like that was a big thing for you, is we make sure they get their productivity systems in place and dialed in. Because if you can do in 8 hours what it takes someone to do in 12 hours, well, that's a 50% gain on productivity right there. Right. And even if you and I have the same skill level, but it takes you 8 hours and me 12 hours to do the same thing, well, guess who wins in the long run? Right. You will, because, there's only a matter of time before I burn out, or if you want to put your foot in the gas and you want to work 10, 12 hours, if you wanted to, well, then you're going to get light years ahead, over time. So, so for you, was it really just, hey, I know I'm really good, but I'm just like, I don't know what it is. I don't know what I don't know, but like something's missing that's preventing me from getting to the next level? Or did you come in saying like, I know time management's my issue? Which was it for you?
I had an idea that time management was my issue. I had that awareness,
Yeah.
but not the entire time I've been in sales. That was more the last couple of years I started to have that awareness.
Mm.
I started to get to know other sellers I work with that have been doing it for 30 years. I started noticing just their routine. Like it's all about the routine. And, I think like you said, the difference between a good and a great seller is actually very little. And I believe that this program is what can take you from good to great, and a lot of it's just from different perspectives. One of the great things about the program is obviously we have Triple J and the coaches, and that's great. I said, but we also have group calls, multiple days a week where we're able to hear perspective and hear stories and hear challenges from other sellers that are part of the program. And that has been very, very beneficial to me as well. But to answer your question, I would say that in the last 2 years, I started to have an idea of the areas that I was missing. I knew that they were going to be very small details, but I know that the small details add up and have a huge impact. But then after having a couple conversations with you, Justin, I knew that you had something that I wanted. And I believe I told you that, if I'm in front of someone, I believe that I can do this as good as anyone. But after talking to you, Justin, I noticed immediately that it was the small things that I was struggling with. And the small things you can make, you can implement change immediately, and you can see the impact that it has almost immediately. It may not be, in your next commission check, but people will notice the changes that you're making, and those changes really come from the details.
Yeah. Yeah. No, details are everything. So for you, time management was a big unlock for you. Now, what else has been really helpful for you as you've kind of worked towards going from like good to great to elite? Or what else has been a big impact for you?
Yeah, definitely. So what I would say to that is, um, there's the smaller details which I keep alluding to, and then there's also areas that I thought I was really solid, that I could use some improvement. And how do you run a discovery call? What are we looking to accomplish? How do I prepare my team internally for that discovery call? I just got off an internal prep call for a massive discovery call we have tomorrow. I will never run a discovery call without doing internal prep in advance of that call. I've learned how to communicate with clients' prospects. I have learned how to communicate expectations with them and then get them on board with me to meet the expectations that we have. I've learned how to run a much better demo. I've learned how, when you have an hour in a meeting, you don't have an hour in that meeting. In fact, your demo is probably going to be about 20 minutes because there's other things that have to happen. I have not had any discovery calls or demos where we ran out of time. And guess who that's on, Justin? That's on the seller. That's on me. People notice those things. A lot of the changes that I made was simply how I run a discovery call, how I prep my team, how I run demos, how I communicate with clients, prospects. That stuff was noticed by my coworkers immediately. Now, my commission check for the first month of doing this is probably very similar to what it was, before I started the program. But when you get a year into this program, and 2 years and 3 years, that's when you have the huge success. It's just really sticking to the program, implementing the changes, and seeing it through.
I mean, I got to ask, you mentioned commission. So, if you're okay going there, I'd be curious to know what's been some of the results you've seen from your career, whether that's quota attainment, income, whatever that's been, whatever you're comfortable sharing, from being in the program.
Yeah, so I noticed very quickly a lot of the metrics that we are graded on. For example, how many net new logo meetings did you have this week? I noticed that a lot of those metrics, very quickly after I started this program, those metrics, they all improved. Now, what I'll say about commission is in my first year, I did 25% more in commissions than the prior year. This year, I expect that to be closer to 40%. And so the commissions, those come in time, and it doesn't take that much time. You give it 6 months, and if you do everything that you're supposed to do, you should start seeing more income from that. But, in my first year, I did 25% more, which I was very happy with. And then what are we going to do in year two? We're going to go from 25 to 40%. Year three, why can't we get to 60%? And that's kind of what I've learned during this program when it comes to the success and the commissions and all
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, at the end of the day, of course, money's great, but what I really care about is helping people accelerate their path towards freedom. And everyone's freedom is different, but being financially free and being able to live life on your terms, like that's what it's all about, right? So, I know you put in the work, to do it. You stay disciplined to it, but it's really good to see the success that you have seen and are continuing to see. What are you What are you most excited about, in the future? What are you working on now?
I'm most excited continuing this program, implementing the changes on the fly. That's fun. It's very rewarding when you spend the money to do a program to improve yourself and you start seeing those results. That's what I'm most excited about. I'm also most excited about these large enterprise customers. I have the credibility. We do great work for them, but there's so much business to do there. And that's very exciting, but with a lot of those enterprise customers, you have to go through procurement, you have to build relationships there. You have to go outside of your comfort zone, which is cyber, and so, I have learned a tremendous amount in my time here, but I'm most excited really to just keep doing exactly what I'm doing, implementing change immediately, and working towards the outcomes that I desire.
What's the next big goal for you?
The next big goal for me, I would love to be a top five seller. My company has about 550 sellers.
Okay.
I would love to move in the top five, and I know now that I have the pieces to do that. I just have to keep being relentless and keep learning and evolving, and that top five will I'll get there one day.
Nice. I know you will. I know you will. Brick by brick, build the skills and then execute the plan and have the discipline to stick to the plan, right? And not chase shiny objects. So, first, yourself, was this the first time you ever invested in a program like this, or did you invest in yourself in the past?
Yeah, this is the first time I've really
Yeah.
done any kind of program like this to improve myself, whether that's personally, professionally. The only thing I did was answer a message and then have a couple conversations, and it was really as simple as that. But I was very skeptical. The first thing I said to you, Justin, was I need you to prove to me that I can learn from you. I need you to show me that you are better than me and I want things from you. And obviously, you were able to do that very quickly. So, highly recommended for those that are looking to crush through their ceiling. This is a great way. This is a great way to do that. If you're content and you're happy with where you're at and you're just keeping the train on the tracks, this program is not meant for you. But if you want to be in the 1 percentile of sellers, this is the exact program for you.
I appreciate that. Well, and what I say to folks is, even if you don't join this program, the highest ROI you can make is in yourself, right? And I remember this from the first time I invested in a coach and mentor. I mean, I was 100K in debt, making 30K a year gross. So I was like broke, not like a little broke, like broke. And When I studied the best of the best, all of them invested into mentors and coaching in some capacity. And I didn't know, I had no idea if it was going to work. But I just basically told myself, okay, if this is what the best do, to be the best, you learn from the best. And if the best do this, then there must be something to it. And I started small, but the idea of investing in myself has always been one of the key things that's helped me accelerate my career. From my days at Salesforce to leadership, to a CRO, and now as a business owner, right? It's something that's always ingrained in me, right? So, if someone's out here watching, even if it's not SRA, because we're not right for everybody, invest in yourself, right? You'll never look back and say, wow, I wish I didn't invest in myself as much as I did, right? You're always going to look back and say, I wish I would have acquired more skills, learned from more people, got myself in the rooms with the people that I wanted to learn from, right? And that's what you're getting by joining a community, joining an SRA or something else, right? Because, we only get one shot at this thing called life. All right, let's make the most of it. Um, Question for you. I know you're working on some things behind the scenes. Um, are we keeping those under wraps or are we talking about those today? I'm fine either way.
A later date, we definitely will.
Later day. All right. I'll hold you to that. But I know, uh, we've talked about this, so I'm really excited about those things behind the scenes. Um, but I appreciate you spending the time. If there's someone who is thinking about investing in themselves or skeptical or curious, what parting words or advice would you give to someone who might be watching this right now?
If you're actively looking for something like this, there's a reason for that. If you had arrived, you would not be considering this. The best of the best always are looking for ways to improve. The best of the best are always doing that. And to do that, it takes humility. So if you think you have already arrived or you're content, you don't need to do this program. But if you can come in with humility, knowing you have really good potential, knowing that you're betting on yourself, then you need to do this program. But you have to bet on yourself and you have to put in the work. But Justin and the program are going to help guide you through that. At the end of the day, you are responsible. You're responsible for the output of your life. And so, what I would say is, if this is something uh, that's if this is something a situation where you believe there's room to improve, you have the humility to accept the teachings and implement the changes. I believe that, and you want to hit your ceiling. I want to crush my ceiling. I want to crush it. But I know this: I will never crush my ceiling just trying to figure it out on my own. That doesn't happen. You can ask any successful person in the world who helped them along the way, and they could sit there for hours telling you, hours. So that would be my advice. If you're considering doing this, look at those things before you sign it.
Well, the one thing I know about you, not only from just the energy I can feel off you right now, but just from our time working together, I mean, you're a man on a mission, right? And you're going to run through a wall. So I have no doubt, not only have you already shattered some ceilings, shattered some goals, from my time knowing you, but I know some of the goals that you're running at now, and no doubt you're going to crush them. So really appreciate the time. Uh, Folks, connect with Brad on LinkedIn. Great guy, Brad Little. And not only is he a killer seller, but he's an even better human being. So appreciate the time, Brad.
Thank you, Justin.